Hey, friend, welcome to the podcast. You Are Significant, the podcast where you will hear real stories from real people, and we will get down into the truths of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Now, let's get down to it. All right, we are here in the studio today with Kim Kinsfather, and I am so grateful that she can meet with me here in Alabama. There is thunderstorms and rain, and then it's sun is shining there in Dallas where Kim is. So I'm just so thankful that we have this technology, and we'll just pray that it all works the way it's supposed to. And if not, my editor will fix it. So it'll be good either way. So I'm super excited to have Kim here because she and I are sisters in so many ways. And Kim and I got a chance to work together in Brooke Hemingway's mastermind in what was it, 2023
Yes.
that we did that last year. And the time is getting away. It's starting to feel like longer and longer, and I miss it so much. It was really precious times. So, and then Kim and I have also gone on to go to like Amberly Lago's events, Unstoppable, and other things as well. So I just absolutely adore her, and just she's so cute. We ended up like one of our fun things is we didn't talk about what we were going to pack, and then we were roommates when we went to our first Amberley Lago event, and we start looking in the closet, and it's like we had packed a lot of the coordinating outfits, and we both put our red dresses on, and so I think of her as my red dress friend. She looks so good in red. And leopard print too. I mean, it's really a toss up. So
It is. Red and leopard are the new black. So
they are. So I told Kim, I said, hey, let's get this podcast started the way that we normally do. I want to let her share her story. And there's so much significance that God has shown Kim and brought to all of us through Kim and her story. And I can't wait for you to hear it. So welcome to You Are Significant, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me, Darlene. I really appreciate it. And I absolutely love and adore you. And yes, like she said, we have known each other, well, really well, I guess, for a little over a year. And then I think we've known about each other before that. So, but that mastermind really brought us together. And I really do feel that sisterhood as well. We have lots of fun stories like that with red dresses and exchanging outfits if we need to for pictures or whatever we've got to do. But I love that there are avenues out there that can bring women together, such as your community, and what you're doing is absolutely fabulous. A little bit about me. So I live in outside of Dallas. We have a 5-acre little farm that we love. I've got cows and chickens and goats and those kinds of things. We have 5 kids, been married for almost 33 years. And it has not all been roses and sunshine. A lot of that was we were kind of put through the ringer for several years, like 20 of those years. And so going back to that, we met, we eloped, and we were married in 3 months. And that sounds really crazy to a lot of people. We did not see our families for 5 months after that. Like it was just us after we got married. We didn't have any kind of a party. He was in the military and we had to report to our next base. And so that's what we did. And we didn't see anybody for 5 months. So we learned really early on that it was about our 4 walls and our family as a couple. And so we had to kind of, work through all that and learn how to lean on each other and not outside influences. And so that was one really key thing with us, I think, that started us off. And so we started our lives. We were we've always been business oriented. We've always wanted to be entrepreneurs and work for ourselves. He was in the military, but we actually bought our very first real estate course business on our honeymoon. And so that's kind of how we got started. And we started buying real estate, and everybody told us kids in their 20s shouldn't be doing that. And that's, you can't do that. You hear a lot of can'ts out there. And we said, oh, yes, we can. Watch us. And so we did. And things were great for a while until they weren't. And so, um, simply put, we overextended ourselves. So we were young, dumb, and new rich, as we like to call it, where you're spending money on all the stuff that doesn't matter. And we got ourselves into a huge bind and we lost everything. And so different times I tell different stories, but basically through those years, over probably about a 2-year period, it was literally a foreclosure, a repossession, an eviction, bankruptcy. It was crazy in about 24 months. Oh, and let's throw in an emergency C-section with my fourth son on top of that. So there was a lot of craziness going on. But during that time, we went back to our roots, right? We had learned early on that it was just about he and I and our family. And we weren't going to let these outside influences really influence us, because we had a lot of people during that time telling us, you should get a divorce. You should leave each other. Even creditors would call us up and say, oh my gosh, it would be so much better for your credit if you guys divorced, and then he took these bills and you take these bills, and you guys could still live together as married, but get a divorce. And we're like, no, we're not doing that. I don't care
Wow.
sense or whatever craziness you're spewing here. But so we just started having, I don't know if we were in denial or we had fun with it, but we just started answering the phone the way that the creditors talk to you when they're talking to you. And so we'd be like, I'm sorry, he's not available, but he'll be back available for these hours to these hours, and you're welcome to call back then. And they're like, well, we can't do that. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, that's when he's available, or we just wouldn't answer the phone, right? You get, thank goodness for caller ID now. We didn't have that then. So a lot of people would be like, we've been trying to get a hold of you for days. Sorry. So we really struggled through that time. I mean, my kids ate mac and cheese, out of the black and white boxes when we used to have those black and white boxes for a very long time. And so they will not eat Kraft mac and cheese. That was a big celebration when we could upgrade to the blue and orange box. That was a huge party in our house. And we just kind of walked through all of those things, and we really focused outside of ourselves. We really focused on serving others. We got really involved in our churches. Wherever we lived, we moved a ton during that time, as you can imagine, when you're, losing a house and moving into an apartment and getting evicted and all those things. We kept moving neighborhoods and different things like that. And we just really sunk our teeth into getting involved, because that's all we had. We didn't have any money, but we had our time. And so we would sow our time into other people. And that, I guess, would be my very first tip for anybody that is going through any kind of especially a financial struggle like that. It is very easy, and the enemy wants you to focus on your problems and your situation at that time. But I think my number one tip is get your eyes off yourself and start focusing on serving other people, because it's really easy to have fun and be grateful and loving and serving when you are out there helping other people. And I think that was a big thing that we did. We were very, very involved in our churches. We did that. And as we were doing those kinds of things, we always kept this vision of we would be millionaires eventually, and that we always wanted to give back, and that we always wanted to be business owners, not work for other people. Yes, we worked for other people during that time, but that's not really who we were as people. We always wanted to work for ourselves. And so we always kept that out in front of us, whether that was listening to tapes. We didn't used to have, podcasts back then, or interview type stuff like this. You had basically television or cassette tapes. That's kind of what you had. And so we listened to a lot of cassette tapes and a lot of John Maxwell and a lot of stories. Like, he's got a great, great talk called Swing the Bat. And I'll let him tell it. So go look that up. It's called Swing the Bat. But it's basically about you can't hit anything if you're not swinging the bat. You have to get up to bat. Doesn't matter how many times you strike out. Doesn't matter how many years you go through. Our struggles were literally 20 years. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with us. We had a lot of growing to do. We had a lot of lessons to learn. But during that time, God really walked with us and set us up. We met relationship after relationship after relationship. And those relationships down the road, we didn't know why we were in rooms we were in at that point, or meeting the people we were meeting, because we were meeting some very, very successful business owners around the country. We had no idea how we got into those rooms, but we tried to get into any room that we could be, where people were, their daily lives were the stuff of our dreams, right? And so any chance we got to go hear someone speak or talk, or anything that we could sneak into, which I have snuck into rooms, I have to admit that right up front. Anytime we could sit at the feet of somebody who has done what we wanted to do, we put ourselves in that position. And we ended up making relationships with some really great people. And about 5 years ago, we started a legacy business with our kids, and we grew that very quickly. And I believe it's because we went through all of that 20 years before. It was preparation, right? God talks about sowing the seed. You don't know when that harvest is going to come, but you still have to go out and sow those seeds. And I think it took us 20 years of preparation. And Facing the Giants is another great movie, right? You prepare for rain. So those 20 years, we were preparing for rain. And when we opened our business, it took off and rain happened. We actually launched during COVID. We have one of the largest office ice and drinking water businesses in the country, and we go business to business. And so what that means is that we put in an ice machine, or we get rid of those big 5-gallon jugs that you see in offices. We get rid of those and we put in really nice point of use coolers. And it helps a lot of business owners out. It takes a lot of hassle off of them and takes a lot of headaches away. And we opened during COVID, and we were once again very blessed because we had a very strong work ethic. We were out there still working when things were closed. A lot of those warehouses and things were not closed in COVID. We were set in Texas, and that was complete God thing that we're back in Texas. When we lost everything, we had started in Texas, and then we moved all over the country, and we were brought back to Texas before COVID hit. And that was a whole God thing in and of itself. But all of these big businesses were open, and we were able to go in, and my kids were taught to work hard. All of my kids had their own businesses all the time growing up. They would shovel snow, they would go do groceries, they would cut lawns, whatever. They owned their own thing. And so they were taught that from a very young age. And we also brought them up with not being able to say the word can't. We don't believe in the word can't in our house. And it was taught as my young kids were growing up, that's a dirty word. You're not allowed to say it. And the reason is because we believe that can't or can is a matter of ability. And we truly believe you are able to do absolutely anything you put your mind to it. Whether or not you physically can do that or not, you can find someone that can help you. You can find those resources. Maybe you have a friend that will come alongside you. Whatever, you can totally do whatever you put your mind to. And may or may not refers to permission. So my kids always asked may or may not, to the point we were a little intense about this. But we actually, to the point where they did not call cantaloupes. They called them may not elopes. And I know that sounds kind of goofy, but that's how my kids were brought up. And so when we launched this business during COVID, there was no can't. I mean, we just went out and we could do anything we put our mind to. And my kids would, if a front door was shut, they went around to the back to the warehouse, and guess who was in those warehouses? It wasn't workers, because a lot of the workers were sent home during COVID, but those owners had to still keep essential goods flowing. And that's who my kids got to talk to. And so because they had been raised that way, because they had been in these rooms, we've always put our kids in these rooms with us. They were able to walk in and talk to a business owner on their terms. And so it really, really just went crazy. I don't really even have another. God has blessed us absolutely immensely. All 5 of our children work in our business. 3 of our children are founders with us. And we have just, kind of taken over not just Texas, but we're actually ranked nationally, which is kind of crazy because we're really, we're in the DFW area. We're expanding to San Antonio, Austin, and Houston, and all of these places. And then we've got plans to go nationwide with our offices. But right now we're just in DFW. And so to be ranked nationally, and we're talking, it's great. It's just, there's no other explanation other than God has had his hand over every single part of this. And so that's really kind of our rise to that. But in between that, there were a lot of things that happened, right? Our faith grew immensely because it had to. We had nothing else. We had no money. Our family was not with us. We were always separated geographically from our family. And so we really dug into our faith as a family. That first and foremost, I think I spent more time. I spend a lot of time with God now talking, but I spent more time on my knees, face down on the floor, crying out to God and saying, okay, just show me what to do. Tell me who to talk to, really asking and listening to where he wanted us to go and what he wanted us to do. I think that I'm not alone in that. I think a lot of people, when they hit a struggle or a challenge, that's the first thing that you do. And that's what we did. And that brought us together really close as a family. We're very, very close and loyal as a family. The second thing that I did was absolute another blessing. Right before about 2 years before we launched our business, I was presented with the opportunity of Plexus. And I started taking my health. I used to have really extremely bad migraines and extremely bad health. And I had a friend who just reached out. She's only reached out one time to me. She said, here, listen to this, and she got me on a little call and I started taking it. And within 120 days of me actually taking my gut health seriously, I haven't had a migraine since. And so that started kind of snowballing my health into a huge upward trajectory, to where now I have the energy, I have the mental clarity, I have the focus. I'm not exhausted all the time. I don't get sick all the time, all that kind of stuff. And so I really took my fitness seriously also. Once I did that, my family, it was amazing to see what happened in our family, because once you have a healthy mama, oh my goodness, does your family change, right? You're not snapping at your kids anymore. Your kids are excited to be around you. Life starts getting really fun again when you're not sick on the couch all the time. And so that it was really a neat thing to see, because my husband got his wife back, my kids got their mom back, because most of my kids growing up, even though we were teaching them all these things, I was really sick. And so they heard a lot of, please be quiet, mommy has a headache, mommy has to go to bed, when they were little. And that part, we always look back with regret or whatever, but it's like, I know God was preparing them also to just kind of move through, and me as well, because we just moved through that. But it's just, I'm so happy that now I get to be excited and energetic and ready to go. And I'm not having all these health challenges, and I can focus on my adult kids, because if you have adult kids out there, as well as I do, almost more, they need you more as an adult than they did as a 2-year-old. And so it's really good to have that health now, that I get to do that, and I get to be there for my grandbabies. We're having our second grandbaby in October, which is excited. So fun. And then, just our family, we started getting healthier as a family. And then we launched this business as a family. And now we're having a lot of fun with it, right? You always have to have fun, whether you're well off, not well off, it doesn't matter. You need to pick out moments of fun wherever you are. And that can be in a, 600 square foot budget suites with 4 little boys, all at the age of 8, and trying to eat, the black and white box of mac and cheese. We still had fun. There was a pool there, so that's all they cared about, was that they got to go swim every day. But that's really, really what we do. I think the biggest lesson, one of the biggest lessons I learned also, was that you surround yourself, like I said earlier, with people who are living their daily lives. Every day is the stuff of your dreams. You need to surround yourself in circles where they are more experienced, more, they are where you want to be. And I think one of the ways that you do that is, I talked about, I was on a webinar, and I talked about Belgian horses. And I think that you need to really look at people in your life who will push you to do more than you thought you could. Belgian horses can each pull about 14,000 pounds. They're the Olympic athletes of the horse world. and they can do about 12 to 14,000 pounds on their own. But when you team them up, they actually, you would think that they would do about 28,000. They don't. They do almost 35,000 pounds
No.
team. And the reason that is because each horse will work as absolute hard as it can to stay in pace with the other horse. And that's a lot like business. You really have to have a mentorship, a coaching program, something like that where you are being challenged, not just cheerleaders, right? Cheerleaders are great, but they won't push you. They'll just sit in the back and cheer you on, which is awesome. We need them too. But you need someone who's going to challenge you every step of the way and start saying things like, oh, okay, so why did you decide to do it that way? And then you'll answer and they'll say, okay. And then usually you have to give them permission to speak in your life. But if you've got a really good coach, they're going to say, look, this is costing you more time. This is costing you more money. What if we looked at it this way? Right? They're going to help you figure out
Yes.
what works best for you, your business model, your life, your family, whatever it is you need that. But you need a mentor and a coach in every single area of your life. And it doesn't have to be the same one for every area. You can have multiple coaches, right? A wise man has many counselors. So look at people who are where you want to be in business. Look at people who are where you want to be as a mom. Look at people who are where you want to be in your faith. You know, whatever that looks like for you, people in their marriage or where you and your husband want to be in your marriage. Those kinds of things. Pick people out that you can go be mentored or coached by. So I think those are my biggest tips that I would have.
Oh, wow. I just love that. And it's just so powerful that you've been through this journey and it hasn't been easy. It's
No.
been full of challenges, both with your health, your finances, the people around you in the beginning
Yeah,
that telling you to get divorced
I know.
to handle your credit problems and your financial problems. I mean, that is like just like I think about Satan and how
Oh
he was
yeah.
just being so blatant. He
Yeah.
wasn't even trying to mask it or be the father of disguise. He was just like, just get divorced. And I
Yeah,
can't
he's just
believe
like right in there. Yeah.
it's just crazy sometimes what I mean, he'll try anything. He'll try
Yeah.
all the angles. And so,
He will. And just because we've got this great business, I mean, there's still challenges, but we have been through so much and we've learned so much because through the last 5 years of us growing this business, we've had to really, even though we grew ourselves 20 years to get to that point, we've had to keep growing. You can't stop growing because every new level you have, there will be new challenges and new things that, you've never seen before, right? And so you need mentors at every stage of your life.
they
All the
say new levels, new devils.
exactly.
And and another way that could be said is like as we grow and we achieve more and we face what scared us before and we achieve success, then it's like a new kind of scary, like
Yes,
you
right.
know
Yes, you always have to push yourself out of that comfort zone because it's very, it's always different. It's always
yeah.
different. So
Yeah, and I think that's part of the beauty of your significance and your husband's significance and your family's significance is y'all have shown courage to not listen to those negative voices, even the blatant ones in your face that you listen to
yeah.
that knowing inside of you, you knew what was right and what was wrong, and you
Mhm.
had this vision for yourself. And I loved what you said about how you always saw yourself as being business owners,
Mhm.
millionaires. You did work for some other people because you have to do that along the way.
You have to feed
But
those kids.
yeah, you have to have a few pennies to rub together even to get the black and white box of mac and cheese.
Yeah.
So you did what you had to, put food on the table and keep a roof over the head and keep some wheels under you. But you knew that was not where you had arrived. That was
Yeah.
not your stopping point. You had this vision and, I think that is so key to our significance is
Yeah.
keeping a fast hold a tight hold, but also a growing hold, a faith filled hold where you leave room for the Holy Spirit to guide you,
Yeah.
that you have that vision
Yeah.
along the way. And, you don't just, it would sometimes it's easy to settle, especially because of the fear. And like I loved also what you were saying about, okay, so now you have this amazing water business where you're doing ice, which I haven't heard you say the
Yeah.
ice part before. So you're expanding all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
And so you've got the ice and the purified water systems, and you are nationally recognized now. And so, like every time I hear your story, it's expanding, and I think that is also part of your significance is that vision that you don't just stay here. It's easy to just stay right here because it's a new comfort zone.
Right.
Now, this is more than we ever thought we might achieve, or this is helping us live a semblance of the life we had the vision for. But no, instead, that God has even more for you to do. And I think that is really key to living into significance. It's a growing thing. It's not just like
Yes.
we arrive at it, but it's
Yeah.
ever growing.
Right. It's a journey. It's not a destination, right? Because if you take your foot off the gas, if you stop growing when you get to where you think your your level is, then all you do is fall backwards, right? You're either growing or you're decomposing. Well, I want to grow. I don't want to decompose. I'm 53 and I sure don't want to decompose now. So, yeah, totally keep growing.
Ah. We got to take a lot of collagen now.
I know that's right, right?
Yeah, and we were talking about I'm in a little exercise. It's my tops club, and we've got a challenge going on, and we're on teams, and so we've got a little chat, and we were talking about our exercise today. And it's like, as we age, if we don't, like, even if you took 1 week off of the
Yep.
push ups you could do, if you could do 200 push ups in a week, if you took a week off next week, you might can still do the 200, but it's going to be more painful. And
Yeah.
if you took another week off, you might not be able to do 200. It might be 180 or 150. Like, it doesn't take very long. Like you said, you're either growing or you're dying. There's
Yeah.
not any in between. And I think sometimes as we do get older, I don't know if you feel this way, Kim, but it's like it would be easy for some ambition to be lost because we see that we're getting closer to that end of life. Losing my mom in 22
Mhm.
changed my perspective a
Yeah.
whole lot on a lot of things. And then, really losing my dad to dementia and other things that happened in his life last year. So really, I feel like an orphan now. And yet I still carry with me all that they taught me, all that love, all their vision. And my mom and dad were very visionary and very positive people, and very much about going for your dreams and going for greatness. And all along the way, making God the foundation and those spiritual goals the top priority to be going for. And but it changes the perspective, I think, when
Yeah.
for me in losing my parents. And it's like, okay, what really matters,
Yeah.
and on my Plexus team, one of my team members lost her husband in the fall of last year.
Mm.
And all these different things happen along the way that present challenges.
Yeah.
That's like, do you really want that dream? Does it really matter? What really does matter, and is it going to be worth it? And so, just continuing to grow and keep a growth mindset, I think, is it can be just
Yeah.
as simple as that. Just getting up today and
Yeah.
daring to write something down on your to-do list that is going to grow you, that isn't going to be easy, that is going to get outside of yourself. like you said, serving others became a foundation for your family and what you
Yeah.
were all about. Because you didn't have money for 20 years, you
Mhm.
had time, and you knew relationships is really what was the most important. Growing really good relationships too. And I think sometimes we can settle in our relationships. And one of the things we talk about on this podcast is codependency. And so once a
Mhm.
person falls into codependency, it can just be easy to start attracting lots of codependent type
Yeah.
relationships. And so really becoming aware of like, what are the kind of people that I'm wanting to attract? I'm wanting to attract people who, it's not that they're perfect, because only Jesus was perfect,
Right.
but
Right.
attracting people into our life that have that growth mindset. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons you and I have stayed such good friends, is because we know we're going to feed each other to be like, hey, what are you
Mhm.
working on?
Yeah.
What are you doing to
Absolutely.
grow? Yeah.
Absolutely. We've always talked to our kids too about follow the principles, not the person, because we're all people, we're all sinners, and we will all fail, right? But if you follow the
Yes.
principles, whether it's faith principles, whether it's success principles, whatever, principles and laws don't change. And success always leaves clues. And so if you follow the principles, then it doesn't rock your world when a person that a lot of people will put people on a pedestal, put the principles on the pedestal, because then when that person falls into sin, which we all do in one way or
Yes.
another, you're not rocked. Your foundation is not rocked, because that principle is what you're following, not the person.
Such great
Does that make sense?
advice. Yes.
Yeah.
Such great
I mean, and
advice.
we so into our team members. Like, I don't know if you can see back here, I've got books on my bookshelf that we give away all the time to our guys. We really encourage growth mindset. Like, we want our anybody that I come into contact with, I want them reading books. I want them listening to podcasts. And it doesn't matter. I don't have any financial gain in any of that. I just want them to come out growing and be a better husband, be a better father, be a better, you know, um, whatever. Just grow yourself and get better, because as you listen and learn to all of these different things that are out there, and there's take your pick. So many of them are free. It doesn't even cost money now, which is amazing.
It
But there's
is.
so
A
many
lot
great
of the same
principles, and when you
talks
start
that you would
listening,
pay for in those rooms are available on podcasts now.
yes, which is amazing. And
Yes.
anything that you can do to grow yourself, your family is better off. And that's my big word is legacy. I want to leave big legacies, and whether that's somebody getting sober, whether that's somebody becoming a Christian is the best part when you get to lead somebody to Christ. That's absolutely the most
Yes.
incredible, awesome thing when Christ will work through you and you see that person saved. Um, but I think getting people sober, getting people's finances in order, getting their families just to start to have fun together again, and pulling back together as a family. And because the world wants you to split apart as a family, right? We have separate,
Yeah.
camps for kids, and we've got separate things for adults, and we've got all these separation things, and the world tells you it's totally fine to do that. It's really nice to kind of see people pull back to like family dinners, and just once a week talks if you've got adult kids, whatever it is. I just think anytime that you can start growing as a person, your entire family legacy is going to be changed. So
Wow, I love that you are committed to that principle of family, even when they're adults. Because a lot of times we think about getting our kids to adulthood and then setting them free to soar. And I know that you're not saying don't do that also, but I think what comes to mind is just how the family unit is so key to all other organizations having
mhm.
strength and being
Yeah,
stable. With all the things going on in our country right now, we know that the home and the family being strong and stable and founded in Christ and founded in those principles
yeah,
is going to be the saving grace and what helps our country to be strong again.
Yeah.
And so the family and the fact that you're committed to your adult children, still y'all having this strong family unit, and that you have a family business. And I love that you mentioned family dinners. Like, how can we do that? How can we foster strong family relationships when we do have grown children?
Sure. I think, we date our adult kids, which is kind of fun. Like, we will call one of them up, and we'll take them and their family, right? Because that whole family is our family, right? There's no not family, all this stuff. If my kids are dating somebody, if they're engaged, if whatever it is, that's my family now. And so they're always invited to any family events. We go on one-on-ones with each family, and just do out of the
Oh,
blue, we'll go to a movie together or go bowling together or whatever. And
I'm picking
we
up
just
my life.
really, and I don't wait for my kids to do that. I actually say, hey, do you guys want to do this? But then I also respect their individual family unit. And I have told my son, who was married 3 years ago, in November it'll be 3 years. Um, 3 years ago, I told him, as I was walking him down the aisle, because I get to walk with him, and I was explaining to him, this is all about you and your wife. This is not about my opinion as a mom. This is not about your dad's opinion as your dad, or our opinion as our family. This is you and your new wife's life. You guys always choose each other. You always choose to do whatever is best for you and your four walls and your family. And so we have really respected that with our kids. I have one son who lives about 5 minutes away. I do not go over there unannounced. I just don't. That's their home. That's their space. And so we do a lot of fun things, which I think it says a lot that they wanted to move 5 minutes away from us. I thought that was pretty cool. All of my kids live within about 40 minutes of us, which is awesome. Um, but I want to respect theirs as well, right? I think that's one of the things that has sustained us, was that because Rob and I did not have outside influences, because we were together for 5 months before we saw our families after we got married. I really think that cemented that in me and our family. And so I want to give that same great foundation to my children and their families. So
Oh, that's so good. So it's a balance of
it
like
is a balance.
still love and respect
Yeah.
in your adult children, the love, the dating your adult kids and doing fun things and planning things with them. And it sounds like even on that individual unit now,
Yeah.
once they are married or even if they move out, and that creates something different as well, even if they're still single.
Yeah.
They're growing into their independence, and yet you're still saying, I want to spend time with you. You
Yeah.
want to go bowling, or you want to go out for pizza, or you
Yeah.
want to go shopping, or and then at the same time, not just popping in all the time, but
Right.
letting them be free and be adult and have respect their respect the perimeter.
Yes,
If you see
exactly.
cheaper, not by the dozen,
Yes.
with the LeBaron scene.
Yes.
We quote that one in our family.
Oh my gosh. That's one of my favorite movies too.
We love that one with Steve Martin. It's so good. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. You are significant. I'm just so thankful for you, Kim, and your family,
Thank
and
you.
all the ways that you just shine your light and share your significance.
Well, thank you for having me. I absolutely love and adore you, and you are very significant. I am really excited I've got to see your community grow, and it's amazing what you're doing, and I absolutely love it. And I'm so excited for you and all of your people. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much, Kim. I definitely want to have you come back on because you are growing and there's always going to be new things to share.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope this episode inspired you to embrace your own God given purpose. If this episode inspired you and blessed you, would you please share it out with a friend who needs to be reminded of their own significance? And remember to hit subscribe. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, Find the joy and stand in your significance.